Welcome to this episode of our program Daily Debate. As usual, we will be discussing an important debate. Today we'll be speaking about the most important, and I always say that this is the most important file that has a certain priority: youth. One important component of the Arab and African nations is youth. The Arab region and the African continent are rich with their young population. Egypt, aware of the importance of this segment of the society, has given this file a very certain priority. The file of youth has become an urgent file, and the leadership has believed that those youth will be the cornerstone for building a future, or a prosperous future, for both regions. Leadership, or our leadership, was not only focusing or concerned with the Egyptian youth, but also with the African and the Arab youth, as we believe of our common future and destiny as well. And out of this interest to build a prosperous future that will really be able to reflect on the Arab world and the African nation, the leadership was hence keen to make several steps to empower and support youth, and at the same time initiate platforms that would enable them and maximize their interaction and hold such fruitful dialogues. This was to exchange experiences among them, their visions and their hopes and aspirations for building the future of our nations at large. While these platforms were also held in order to raise the awareness towards the regional and international issues, crises, problems, circumstances that are facing the Arab region and Africa at large. The leadership was also very keen to prepare calibers and cadres that will be able to lead in the future and advance to be real actors for development. Arab and African youth have grown to prove that they are capable to develop a promising vision of integration among their countries. Tonight, we'll be focusing on that in our episode. Before we delve into our discussion, let me first have a quick look on the top stories of the day. And President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi instructed to continue measures taken to implement series of our heritage exhibitions across all governorates to contribute to consolidating the nation identity. The President's remarks came during his meeting on Monday with Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli and Minister of Trade and Industry Naveen Gema. Presidential spokesman Ambassador Bassem Radi said that the meeting tackled the performance of medium, small and micro enterprises agency during the past period. The Minister of Trade and Industry reviewed the agency's activities from January 2021 till March 2022, which included 200,000 projects that provided thousands of job opportunities in several developmental sectors. The agency also participated in a number of national initiatives, particularly for decent life projects across the country, and setting a number of training programs for youth to upgrade their small project, as well as participating in the national program for converting vehicles to work with natural gas. The meeting also touched on preparations for the new round of our Heritage 2022 exhibition of the year, which aims at boosting young manufacturers of handcrafts and heritage and the outlets of the workers. Meanwhile, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi met or held another meeting with Dr. Mustafa Madbouli, Minister of Business Sector Hashim Tawfiq, Minister of Transports Kamel Al-Wazir, and Minister of Trade and Industry Naveen Gema. The meeting tackled the situation of developing ports nationwide. The head of state directed to continue efforts in developing the country's seaports in accordance with the highest international standards and in a way that benefits from the unique location of Egypt. On his spot, Transport Minister briefed the President on the ongoing efforts of developing Alexandria Grand Port in El Max area and Damietta Port. And moving on to our next top stories, and Iraqi Prime Minister Mustafa Khadimi met with Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry and his Jordanian counterpart Ayman al-Safadi, who arrived in Baghdad for talks over trilateral Iraqi-Egyptian-Jordanian cooperation. Foreign Ministry spokesman Ambassador Ahmad Hafiz said the meeting probed means of enhancing cooperation within the framework of the trilateral cooperation mechanism. The spokesman noted that the meeting sought to follow up on the outcomes of former summits of the political leaders of the three Arab nations and their assignments over boosting relations in different fields. Ambassador Hafiz said that the meeting also included consultations over regional and international developments. He added that the foreign minister and his Jordanian counterpart stressed their country's support of security and stability for Iraq and for the Iraqi people. And Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry stressed the political leadership willingness to boost trilateral cooperation with Iraq and Jordan as part of efforts to ensure regional stability. Addressing a joint press conference with Iraqi and Jordanian counterparts, Shoukry said Egypt backs Iraq's security, stability and sovereignty. The top diplomat added that the three foreign ministers probed major regional and international crises. For his part, Iraq's Foreign Minister Fuad Hussein said Iraq, Egypt and Jordan face grave challenges that need enhanced joint work and broader economic integration. Jordan's Foreign Minister Ayman al-Safadi meanwhile asserted that the Ukrainian crisis and its impact on energy supplies were among the topics discussed at the trilateral meeting. Al-Safadi added that the three countries agreed on enhancing Egyptian, Iraqi, Jordanian cooperation in different fields, notably electric link and fighting terrorism. Welcome back, and before we delve into our discussion, let's have this report. Youth in the Arab region and Africa share a lot of history as well as current circumstances. That is much more to see in this upcoming period. Let's watch this report and we'll come back for more discussion.
Egypt open.
President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi has called for implementation of programs to achieve the integration without obstacles between Arab and African nations. He said that Egypt is always ready to cooperate with all Arab and African countries and not only with its brotherly neighbor, Sudan. He also said that African and Egyptian youth, with the potential, willpower and perseverance given to them by God, can present themselves very well in any country they travel to. He praised the historical ties between Arab and African nations, which were demonstrated by multiple summits held over the past 40 years. Sisi said that the dream of Arab-African integration is not new, adding that the founding fathers of the African Union had always hoped to make it come true. The challenges facing Africa and the Arab world are enormous, including terrorism. The Egyptian president also discussed the presidential program for grooming young people for leadership, saying it was motivated by a strong belief in their capabilities and qualifications, and said he wished Egypt could provide more scholarships to Arab and African brothers. The idea of Arab-African rapprochement is not recent, and its implications have started since the middle of the last century, and it is necessary in order to activate it as aspired to study the opportunities of integration between the two regions to achieve common interests in terms of geography, history, and the volume of natural resources. On the other hand, there are many challenges that prevent both sides from reaching the desired range, especially terrorism, which affects the future of national stability. There are specific proposals to activate the process of Arab-African integration by focusing on the establishment of the Arab-African Common Market as an extension of the Africa Africa Free Trade Area. Establishment of Arab-African funds to finance infrastructure projects to achieve integration in the African continent, particularly through road and rail networks. Developing an Arab-African mechanism to combat terrorism and achieve security and stability. The President directed the Cabinet to coordinate with Ministries of Foreign Affairs and Education to allow young Arab and African researchers benefit from the Egyptian Knowledge Bank. Ministry of Higher Education would coordinate with the National Training Academy to establish cooperation council that includes African and Arab universities in order to promote cultural and scientific coordination.